Good morning and welcome, Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe and Jason. I guess, you know what? It's Tuesday. It's a Taco Tuesday. Yes, did we all get tacoed again? As the president says, the war may be almost over. But is it really? 800-951-0592. That is our toll-free number. allamericangold.com is the website. And I will just say that happy Taco Tuesday. Get all that you can as the president yesterday, right after the gold and silver markets and the oil markets closed, announced that, hey, the war, it's going to be over soon. That nobody needs, to worry because, we bombed everything. They've got nothing left. The war is ahead of schedule. And, by the way, this thing should be finished pretty quickly. Well, obviously, that got oil prices down. Got the 10-year note down. And that Iran would be hit harder if it starts up again. I don't know what starting up again quite means, but he is also says that he refuses to say whether or not the new Ayatollah, who apparently is worse than the old Ayatollah, go shocker there, right? Yeah. The son, if he has a target on his back. The president saying that Iran should have cried uncle 2 days ago, that the war will be over soon, and the choice of the new supreme leader was, quote, a big mistake.
Well, then how is the war going to be over quickly if they pick the wrong guy, right? And so I think everything you read, Joe, is a complete mirage. It's fake. It's a lie. I think Iran's kicking Israel and America's butt when it comes to the missiles. And America's. I saw some stuff last night, Joe. America and Israel has changed their tactics in this 1 week war, plus 5 times. So many things have gone wrong, and so many things have gone good in Iran's favor when it comes to the missile war that they're having. That I think Trump won't admit it, has been trying to get this thing over with or get a ceasefire, and Iran said no, they just say no. Nope. The last 2 ceasefires, you guys, bombed us. so the oil price is coming down. The only thing I can think of is some sort of ceasefire talks have gotten started, and that would say an end of the war if Iran decides, okay, we're done kicking your butt, go away. That's the only thing I can surmise from this, Joe, because I did a deep dive. We had, and anytime you go to your 10 o'clock news and they don't want to talk about the big war, it must not be going well. And the oil price is going down, Joe. That's got to be some sort of a ceasefire, some sort of okay, we'll leave, depending on if Iran wants to allow that.
And so far, it is interesting. Part of me, a lot of me believes that maybe he's just surprised that, wow, we killed half of the leadership, including the supreme leader, and for all intensive purposes, right, we're bombing the snot out of them, right? And the president even said we're running out of stuff to bomb, right? We bombed all their ships. We bombed their bases, right? They really didn't have much of a Navy or an Air Force anyway. But, at this point, either we bomb the oil or we're kind of out of stuff to bomb. And I think when oil hit $120, they freaked out. That's what I think. And he came out, and I don't even know, and I'm just judging this by lack of detail, right? That, crap, we better go out on TV and tell everyone the war's almost over. Because if we don't do something, oil's going to be $150 before the end of the week.
Joe, it was just a couple of hour time span where Trump said this war is going to last a while.
Right.
Then he turned
right. I mean, just
then 2 hours later, he's like, oh, yeah, it's going to end soon. It's going to end soon.
Yes.
What's happening is I think there's plenty of stuff to bomb in Iran. But every time they hit something in Iran, Iran is hitting it in an accompanying situation on the other side. Like you talked about the desalination.
Right. Yep.
Iran got theirs hit. They hit one back. They hit an oil refinery in Iran. They hit one back, and they can't stop it. Here's the thing. They can't stop it. Iran has got complete control over the missile part of this war because
even South Korea's like, they're taking all of our missile defenses away because we don't have enough. And he's like telling the South Korean people, I can't stop them, right? I don't want them to take them, but yeah. So, very interesting. Well, Saudi Aramco, they just made some comments this morning I think everyone will find interesting. Stay with us. 800-951-0592, Patriot Radio News Hour, Joe and Jason, Taco Tuesday, as we'll see what happens. But let's just take a look at the markets. Dow's up 200 points. Not huge, but it's up. I mean, let's face it. Today, the Dow would probably be down 2,000 points had we not gotten what we think for right now maybe Taco 411. So let me give you the 411 on interest rates. The 10-year note's at 411. That's down a full point. I mean, it was 421. And my guess is we'd probably be closer to 4.3 today. So we'll take that. Crude oil, now remember, this came after down 10. But it's actually down a lot more. $84. $84. So you think about, we got to like 120. Gold or oil was about $100 when news started to break that Trump was going to, and it closed at 94 and then down 10, but it was like $86 last night. Gold, and it's so funny, gold and silver, because we know that the war over the long term was going to be very good for gold and silver. We don't love that reason. It was already going to be good before it. But when the 10-year note started flying higher, the yield started rising, right? That acts like dollar strength. So, gold didn't do much. Silver didn't do much. But, think about before the bomb started falling, we talked about how silver broke $93. We're like, dude, it's probably going to be $100 on Monday. Right? Gold was, $5,300? And we're like, it's going to be $5,400, $5,500 on Monday. And then all of a sudden, bombs started dropping, and the gold and silver price are lower. Well, today, you would think, the war's almost over, right? Gold and silver probably selling up. Nope. The exact opposite. Right now, I got gold up 87 on TV. It's up 110. 52.25 on gold. Silver's up $2.50. 89.50. Almost back to $90. And I guess the longer the taco goes, the higher the gold and silver prices. will start getting back to normal. It is interesting as Saudi Aramco today, they had earnings season coming, that came out, but they came out with a huge warning about the catastrophe that was getting ready to take place if the war continues. And it's just kind of interesting that they're saying, hey, we faced other stuff before. We've had oil embargoes and we've had, different wars and all of these things. We've had stuff like this before. But never what we're facing today and saying that catastrophic consequences are in store for the global oil markets. And essentially Saudi Arabia just laid it out. Hey, guys, remember how I kept saying if we're in the same spot a week from today that we are now, this is what's going. Saudi Aramco and the Saudis basically told the president, dude, you don't have any more time.
Yeah.
You can't go another week.
Iran has figured out that they can't win this, but it will be destructive to both sides. So every time they get whacked, they whack back, and they figured out how that America and Israel will not be able to stop it. So you see the oil prices go up, Joe, then the oil prices go back. It's look, if a ground war were to start there, it would go on and on and on and on and on. And I think the oil price needs to be in a sweet spot, right, Joe? They don't want 120, but they don't want 50, right?
I think they want like 80, right?
They want between 75 to 90. That's where the sweet spot is. If it goes too high, inflation will get out of control. If it's too low, you have a recession. And Iran has figured this out. When they got the desalination plant hit, they hit one. I saw the numbers on desalination plants. Iran is 3% dependent on desalination. All of the other oil-producing nations in that whole region are 40 to 90% dependent on their desalination. So if you take out a desalination in Iran and they take one out of one of these other nations, it's much more painful. When you launch expensive missiles into their territory and they launch cheap ones into your territory, it's still more painful for the other side. The economics of this war, Jack, put that clip on. There's more that's going to happen. And as I said, you're not finding out the real stuff. Benjamin Netanyahu's home just got blown up. Have you heard that one, Joe? They blew up
I have not heard that.
They took out his bunker and they took out his house in Israel. This is what the news is. This is what they're trying to do with the news, because they can't show what's going on in Israel. They can't show how much damage they're taking. They can't show the U.S. military bases that are being destroyed. But Jack, go ahead and play this, because Joe, you're gonna recognize this as a different version. This is the controlled media. Go ahead, Jack.
This is a short-term disruption for the long-term gain.
Short-term pain for the long-term gain.
Short-term pain be for long-term gain.
We're going to have some short-term pain with long-term gain.
Short-term pay for a long-term gain.
Some short-term pain, yes, but we've got some long-term gain. Short-term spike for a long-term gain.
Some short-term pain for American consumers.
We may have to deal with that in the short term.
Short-term and temporary.
Temporary short-term pain.
It's going to suck in the short term.
Some short-term pain.
Hopefully this is a short-term pain.
Short-term is highly outweighed of the long-term benefits.
Some short-term pain for the long-term gain.
Short-term sacrifice for a long-term gain.
Yeah, Joe, there you go. Yeah, there it is, right? We don't want to show you how we're getting our butts kicked. We don't know exactly what to do here. We know we need inflation, but Iran seems to know what's going on here, and they're basically saying we should leave them alone. But we can't quite leave them alone because we sort of need them to cause an oil shock here. Iran has figured out the economics of it, Joe. They've developed a war against the West that is economically driven. They don't need ships. You know, they don't need tanks and things like that. They just hey, leave us alone. Or if you don't, we will take everything that you take out. We'll take out one of yours. And Iran will not end. They will not say that there's a ceasefire. They won't end the war. And that's the problem. When things went ugly the first weekend, 2 weekends ago, things didn't go the right way. They really did not go the right way. And there's been a ceasefire on the table from the West ever since the thing started. And Iran's like, no. So that's the X factor. What if Iran decides to be offensive? What if they decide to deplete all of those missile defense systems? There's three different. From what I understand, there's 3 different types of missile defense systems. One is radar dependent. Those radars were taken out. The other one, the Patriot missile stuff from the early days, those don't work. And the second one, you have to throw like 15 missiles or 10 missiles up to take out 2 oncoming cheap missiles. So the missile defense systems are done. That's why Tel Aviv is being hit. This is. I wish I could understand what Iran wanted to do. The whole X factor. What does Iran really want? Do they just want to be left alone, or are they ready to just pour it on? Right? If they want to wage war, then this thing is going to be the ugliest thing we've seen. The fact that the news is ignoring it shows you a whole lot, Joe. This thing could end nicely, short term, or it could get really, really ugly.
We got something interesting here. So do with it as you may. But yesterday we talked about how the G7, they had a meeting and they said, oh, yeah, we may, all of us can release oil from our oil reserves, but we're going to wait. All of a sudden, apparently, they are meeting again and saying that around 10:20 Eastern time, I'm thinking that's New York time, that there's an extraordinary meeting that they're looking at releasing hundreds of millions of barrels of oil amongst them, which says to me,
Iran's not done.
The Iranians aren't going away.
They ended the sanctions on Russia to give oil to like India specifically.
Well, and India literally came out yesterday and said, we didn't need your permission, right?
I know.
You can say what you want. We don't need your permission, right? If we need oil, we're going to buy it from the Russians.
But it shows you how the Ukraine war isn't as serious as they want you to believe it is when they're going to let Russia have that oil sales to India with no flack, right?
Well, think about it, right? And again, right, oil at $150, $200 a barrel. The Russians are making huge money at that rate. I don't know. This is getting weirder by the minute. Iran is saying that the U.S. will not determine when the war ends.
Sounds logical to me. Sounds logical.
So if there's going to be this release, by the way, I dug in. We are nowhere close. We are 170 million barrels away from refilling the reserves after Biden took them down. There was no money now. They had in the budget some money to fill some of the reserve this year. Not all of it, but some of it. Well, they ran into money problems. So one of the things they got rid of was, there's no money to fill the reserve. So they stopped. They were filling it a little bit. Now they've stopped.
Well, I mean, Joe Biden was buying oil from Venezuela. Trump came in and stopped buying the oil from Venezuela, which then the reserves couldn't be filled. That was how Biden was going to attempt to fill it. I'm not a big fan of Biden. I'm not a big fan of the government at all. But these are facts. The politics is causing. We got a little idiocracy going on in these decisions when it comes to wars and oil purchases, Joe.
Well, remember that clip you played. Short-term pain for long-term gain. Right.
Yeah.
Apparently, the long-term gain might be off the table. Because the long-term gain was we're going to change who runs Iran, and we're going to make sure that they like the United States and Israel. Right? That was supposed to be the plan. I don't know. Has the plan changed? Now, it's interesting that they're talking today because oil's down to $84. But now they're saying, hey, we're going to get ready to apparently, a day after they said we're not going to do it, now there's a new meeting. Maybe we are going to, we're going to tell you later today. Why do I think now that the issue here is, we may have to go a lot longer. In other words, what Donald Trump said yesterday about the war is going to be over soon, is it?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
800-951-0592. I know, crazy. 800-951-0592 to give you an idea of how important this is. I hope this, because one of the things that Jason and I try to do, we want to educate everybody, right? The central bank is not our friend. Matter of fact, the greatest ripoff in world history is happening, and people don't want to admit it. It puts you in a system of winners and losers, and mostly losers with very few winners. I mean, if you think about the central bank, America, when I was in school, they used to, it was America created the middle class. That's what made America great. What really made America great was if you could figure out how to build a better mousetrap, you got to keep it. That's what made it great. There's no income tax, right? You didn't get taxed on, if you can figure out how to make money, right? The government left you alone to make the money. And now, we're going back to where the government wants more and more and more and more from us. And the central bank keeps robbing us every single day. But one of the things we tried to teach you was how much more important oil, the commodity, how much more important it was than any other commodity by millions of miles. Let me tell you right now, if Iran produced, wheat or soybeans or name it, right? Name a commodity, nobody would care. Nobody. But it's oil. And look at what is happening. Saudi Aramco, the greatest catastrophe the world has ever witnessed, is about to take place. To give you an idea, when you think about oil in waterways, okay? Think about all the ships, and most oil, right, goes on a ship. Just does. Right? You use what you need in your country, and then you ship out anything you got, and you do it via a ship. 31% of all global seaborne oil comes out of the Strait of Hormuz. That's how big it is. And now they're saying, hey, we're getting ready, and I'm watching Wall Street here. They are anticipating another major release from more than 30 member states to the tune of about a third of all excess oil inventories possibly being released. So you think about the Strategic Petroleum Reserve as it sits now, it's already low. I mean, Jason, this would put us at new all-time record lows in oil reserves since we created it.
Yeah, no, there's games being played. Absolutely, they're trying to make short-term pain for long-term gain. They're blowing that out there, but we know that's going to be a lie. We know that's going to be a lie, right? Just like COVID, 2 weeks to flatten the curve. Remember that lie? That was short-term pain for long-term gain, which turned into long-term gain and long-term pain, right? It's very similar. So I think Iran wants the Venezuela deal. That's how this ends. And I don't think Israel wants to give Iran the Venezuelan deal. Okay, I think that's the problem here. There's a trust issue here, Joe. I think there's a trust issue in the region.
I think Iran's just waiting to be like, okay, stop bombing.
Yeah, we'll know we'll know the result of this if the war does end, so to speak, whenever that is, and sanctions are lifted on Iran. If that happens, then we know that Iran bullied their way into the deal that they wanted, and they're going to get the Venezuela deal. I think that's what Iran wants. I think America financially can no longer bully around all these other countries because they're not in a position to do so. So they had to buy out Venezuela. I think that the only way this happens is two things: ground troops in Iran, so that you can completely destroy the whole country, which will take a long time, at least a year, minimum, probably more than that. It could be 10 years. Or we magically got it. They're going to do what we want, and everything is, we kicked butt in the Middle East. They've relented. We've got a peace deal. It's exactly what Trump wanted. However, we're going to end the sanctions, and Iran is going to financially benefit, which they won't tell you on the news. That's the only two ways this ends, Joe. That's how I see it. Iran is fighting a war as if they are going to get a deal, or they're just going to keep blowing stuff up if stuff gets blown up in their country. So that's the deal. What's the deal going to be, Joe? Iran wants to be Saudi Arabia in Venezuela now. They want the same. They want the gold star treatment. So we're going to do oil. The oil countries are suddenly stepping up to the plate. Like, okay, well, I'm an oil country. You bow to me. That's what Venezuela did. Iran, I'm an oil country. You bow to me. That's what's happening right now. Energy is going to get really expensive. Inflation is going. This is what happens when oil gets inflated. I mean, we talk about gold, right, and silver and the inflation. What happens when oil gets inflated? The oil countries just stand up and is like, okay,
this is not good.
We're in charge, guys.
Good. Gold's up 100. It's up like 130 on TV, but 52.30. $20 gold pieces, 53.95. U.S. silver, Eagle silver's up 89.50 right now, up 260. 19.95 on U.S. silver Eagles. If you're looking at silver dime, still the best play. Silver dime's at 330 at 800-951-0592. I just had this horrible thought. So in the strait, right just north of where the Strait of Hormuz takes that bend that makes it so easy for Iran to choke off, there's an island, for lack of a better term, which is nothing more than a massive oil terminal for Iran. Massive. Now I'm thinking the president may have not been so truthful about the war being over quickly, but I'll tell you, I just had this thought about why would they release all this oil now if the war's going to be almost over any second. Got something that I think may happen here that would make everybody better get ready. 800-951-0592. $20 gold pieces, $53.95. Rolls of U.S. Silver Eagles, $19.95. Rolls of dimes, silver dimes, $330. I highly advise you pick it up very quickly, because let me tell you what I think. I think the president was not being completely truthful yesterday. They just wanted the oil price to go down. With this new announcement that apparently Wall Street says is happening, that they're going to, 30 nations are going to release, 400 million barrels of crude oil. I wonder if they've now decided that we weren't going to be able to accomplish the, quote, long-term gain. That they are now going to start really attacking the Iranian oil infrastructure, including this island just north of the Strait of Hormuz, or at least where the strait bends, that produces the large amount of Iranian oil that gets shipped out of the country onto ships here. That's about the only thing I can think of because, okay, you said the war's almost over. Oil prices were coming down. Yesterday, you said, now, before the war was almost over thing came out, okay? I want to be clear on this. This group met yesterday, and the World Energy Agency kind of was laying out, hey, guys, everyone's going to have to chip in here. But they said, we're not going to do it yet. And then Donald Trump comes on TV, says the war's almost over.
Yeah.
Right? Oil prices come down. Right? But now, today, this same group that just met yesterday and said, hey, we're watching, now is saying everybody needs to release all of this oil. That's the only thing I can think of. Why I have a horrible feeling.
It's to buy time.
Yeah, they're buying time.
There's going to be
this is going to end very, very badly. That's my horrible feeling.
There's either going to be an economic agreement with Iran, and Iran, Israel and America tucked their tail. But on the news, we're going to see how they were. They won. But I've seen the information with a very likely scenario is a ground war at the Strait of Hormuz to try to take out all those missile positions right there on the coast. If they do that, that is the second dumbest mistake. The first dumb mistake was to start this thing. I had a guy, Scott Ritter, this guy said that the operation was run so poorly that out of all poorly run military operations, he said that this is the most poorly operated military operation of all poorly run military operations, and everything has gone Iran's way. Going in and trying to take out positions, or just let's just say they go in there and wipe out Iran around the Strait of Hormuz is the dumbest. It'll be the dumbest thing if that's what they actually do, Joe. If that's the plan, they can still listen. The Strait of Hormuz can be attacked from many positions in Iran. Iran can hit it from the middle of their country. Wherever they have missiles, long-term missiles, those ships are going to get blown out of the water. You can't just go to the Strait of Hormuz and take over that position and think, okay, now we've opened up the strait. Yeah, some of the short-term stuff, some of the easy stuff is taken out. But they have, from what I understand, Iran has the ability for 6 months of regular missile attacks, unending. And they have a year and a half worth of drones of unending. So my guess would be drone attacks against those oil carriers, those oil tankers, Joe. If a ground war starts and they try to operate so to me, Joe, there's one of two things. One, release the oil reserves. We got a deal we're going to put into place. Somehow we got to convince these guys to stop, and we're going to stop. Or number two, it's going to be a ground attack to hold a position, thinking that this will end the bottleneck. There's no way that ends. There's no way a ground war ends the bottleneck. It makes it much worse. And maybe they just want much worse. Maybe they just want much worse. COVID was such a huge emergency that's what ushered in the economic collapse that was going to happen. We have an economic collapse all ready to go. I thought it would have to be next year, but maybe this is it, Joe. You put ground troops in there and everything gets blown up, and here it is. Here's your COVID wrapped up in a 9/11 emergency, Joe. I mean, that's what it looks like. It's got to be. It's either Iran gets funded, they get an economic deal, the sanctions end, or complete collapse, Joe. That's the only. I don't see any other option but those two things. That's it.
We need taco. We just do. And I'm not trying to be funny or dramatic. This was something where, Jason and I think both were in agreement here. This was never going to work.
It works good for inflation.
Yes. I just have a terrible, terrible feeling because I don't understand why they're releasing all of this oil. At least that's what Wall Street's saying they're going to do later this afternoon, which to me says they're going to literally wipe out Iranian oil supplies for a very long time to try to force them to submit. That's the only thing I can think of, which just means we're going to $200 oil just differently than we were going to do it just 24 hours ago. Patriot Radio News Hour, 800-951-0592. Patriot Radio News Hour on this Wednesday. It's just crazy things happening as I think things have not gone to plan at all.
Or maybe it is going to plan.
Maybe. You're right. Maybe
it's going exactly to plan.
Maybe it is. You got gold up $100 here, $52.35. $20 gold pieces, $53.95. Tell you what, 10 or more, $53.75. How's that? You can't get much tighter than that. You got silver up $2.50, bumping back up on $90. Wall Street's only up $2.50. That just tells me I think they smell it too, right? Because you're looking, oil prices are down almost $11. You would think Wall Street would be up, at least 500, 600, 700 points. But things are not quite adding up. And I think we'll see. I don't know, Jason. We're just guessing here, but it's very odd turn of events. That I'll leave it at that. And obviously Saudi Aramco this morning essentially saying, "You guys, hello, McFly. Anybody out there? You're about ready to unleash the biggest catastrophe the world has ever seen in energy. Somebody better do something." And the problem is, and I'm just going to keep saying this, guys, nothing's changed. No oil is flowing, okay?
There's one thing that changed. They picked a new leader there in Iran.
They did. They didn't like that.
All this strange
By the way, I don't know
behavior,
if you saw it.
The strange behavior in the market started right when they picked their leader.
Huge crowds in the street of Tehran. And it wasn't supporting the United States. I'll just say that. Thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people marching for the new supreme leader. Do with that information as you may, right? I think the people that really don't, want to view this honestly understand there is Iran's a divided country, like a lot of these Middle Eastern countries. I'm saying probably 50-50 that love 50% of that nation. They love the religious, we call religious fanaticals. That's where they sit. Whether you like it or not, that's where that country sits.
I think it's closer to 80 or 90% are on the side with their government. That's just me.
Right. I may be right. I may be underselling it, right? But anybody out there that thinks that the vast majority of Iranians are ready to dance in the streets, they're just turn Fox off is what I'm going to tell you. I don't know how to say it any blunter than that. It's just not true. I wish it was. I really do. I wish it was true. It just isn't.
If it were true, then a deal would have been struck a long time ago, like 1953. That's what you give. Hey, when the people are willing to take a shot at your new ideas, then you can buy new leadership. You can put somebody else in there. It doesn't work in Iran. 1979 showed what Iran wanted. Here we are 50 years later, right, Joe?
Yeah. 800-951-0592.